Hi everyone, this is Katie the Novel Stitcher. It is Monday, June 12th, and this is Flosstube number 20. If you're new here, thank you so much for checking my channel out. This is a channel where I talk all about the wonderful craft of cross stitch and show off what I'm working on, any finishes, any starts, talk about cross stitch plans and all those good stitching things. So I hope you'll stick around if you like what you see. I hope you'll like this video. Subscribe, comment, tell me where you live, tell me what you like to stitch and how you found my channel. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here. So excited to spend some time with you again. I always love filming and knowing I will get to be visiting with you and showing off what I'm stitching and of course hearing about what you're stitching. So please make sure you share with me what you're currently working on. If you're stitching on something while watching this video, let me know what that is. Life update, it's been pretty quiet couple weeks. Last week was really busy at work. We had a really big project that comes around once a year, but got through that, my first time doing that, and I think it turned out really well. So that's good. And last weekend, Alex and I went to Longwood Gardens on Sunday and had a really nice day. We got perfect weather. Luckily got that in before some of that smoke and smog from the wildfires in Canada. And my heart goes out to anyone who is really affected by that. That was a rough week last week with the smoke in the air and everything. So I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. And then this past weekend, luckily the smoke kind of cleared out enough on Saturday for a baby shower for one of my, morning voice, for one of my good friends. So we got to have a barbecue and just hang out and be with some friends. So that was really nice. And now it's Monday again. The weekend always goes by so fast. I'm filming this on Monday because I was just a little tired yesterday and I just felt like stitching instead of filming, so I thought I would get up early this morning and film, and now I'm realizing filming in the morning my voice is not quite ready for the day. So I apologize for any throat clearing. Hopefully this nice cup of coffee will help with that. But let's get into the stitching. I have a good amount to share today. I've been in a starting mood. I'm still kind of in a starting mood. I don't know why. Let me know if you ever have times where, you know, you're in certain stitching moods, you want to stitch on a certain thing, or you just feel like starting all the things or kitting up things. But I've just felt like starting stuff, even though I have plenty of whips going, but it's fun to start new things. I know some people don't maybe enjoy it, just like kitting things up and getting everything together, but I find that a lot of fun. So I have 3 new starts. I have 5 whips. I will announce the winners of the Stitchy treats. I'll talk about some plans, and then I will have a bit of bookish talk at the very end with a couple recommendations for Pride Month. So let's get into the stitching. So 3 new starts. This first start, I don't think I shared it last video, but I think I talked about it because it was my last start of Mania for my mini Mania, which was 5 new starts. So this was start number 5, and this was Sunflower Sampler by Cottage Needleworks. Just a really cute little one. Sunflowers are my favorite flower, so I definitely wanted to stitch on this one for the summer. And I am stitching this with the called for Fancy Floss and DMC on a 32 count Vintage Blue Whisper Belfast linen. So that's what I have so far. So just a very little start. I really like this linen. It's a nice white and light blue, and it looks exactly like a sky on a summer day. So if you're looking for a nice linen for a sky, I definitely recommend this. And I think this is going to be so pretty with the sunflowers on this blue fabric. And just a little start. Just one of the sunflowers stitched, but this one will go really fast. This did not take me long to even do this little bit of a start, so I'm hoping maybe I'll finish this one by the end of the month because this is such a cute and quick little stitch. So, and luckily I had the fancy floss because I didn't even look at what floss I needed for this before I kind of started it. I didn't even really kit it up. I had the fabric, but I hadn't pulled together the floss. I think I just assumed it would all be DMC, but there was some fancy floss, and remarkably I actually had all the weeks dye works that it called for, and I don't have many weeks, so got really lucky with this one. So that's the first new start. And then the second new start, just a very teeny tiny start. And this, if you're interested in stitching it, is a free mystery stitch along from Fat Quarter Shop. It is their Haunted Halloween. Yes, Haunted Halloween stitch along. Just started this past week. I don't know how often they're releasing the different sections of the patterns. I want to say maybe once a week, but I'm actually not sure, so I might have to look that up. But there's 4 parts to it, and it's just a Halloween stitch along. And the first part has a bat, and then a little part of what I assume will be a moon, and I think the moon will probably say Happy Halloween. I'll put the first part up here so you can just see. And I did like 20 stitches, but it's a start. It's stitching in fabric, and so I'm doing this on a 32 count vintage Stormy Night Lugana. It's actually left over from a Christmas stitch, which I'll show in a little bit. So I had just enough of this for this one, so that worked out perfectly. And it's all called for DMC, and there's only 4 or 5 colors, so that was easy enough to kit up. So that is my start. That is the very tip of the bat's wing, I think. So a teeny, little tiny start, but I think this will be cute. We'll see what it ends up looking like in the end, but I love Halloween, and I think Fat Quarter Shop always does a great job. And it's fun to do a mystery stitch along. I haven't done many, so it'll be cool to see how this teeny little pattern comes together. So that's fun. That's just a very teeny start. And I know a lot of people are doing the Greenhouse of Oddities mystery stitch along, which is really cool. Not really my style, but I like the idea of a mystery stitch along, especially for this one since it's free. Like, I'm sure it will be cute, but even if it's like not something I would always stitch, you know, it's free. So, but I think it'll be cute. And then my last new start, I was in the mood to start something that was gonna be more summery, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to start, and I went through all my patterns and nothing was really calling out to me that I already owned, and I was looking for what I had in Etsy, and I was just being very indecisive, but I really wanted to start something. And so what I decided to do is, I've never stitched Teresa Kogut, and I really love her patterns. And I was going through some of what she's released, and there's so many that I like, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to stitch or if there was something more summery that I wanted from her. And so what I decided to do was join her Patreon, because I wanted to see what patterns she was releasing there, and people are always showing her Patreon patterns on Flosstube, and I think they're just so pretty. So I joined the second tier, I think. It's only $8 a month, and then that gives you access to a secret shop of like Patreon releases. And so I was looking through that, and I fell in love with this one, Home Sweet Home. And I think that Alicia, the Fanciful Flamingo, is stitching this one, and I just think it's so cute. And for me, living in Pennsylvania, summer is more like bees and sunflowers and fruit and barbecues and that kind of thing than like beach themed. I don't really decorate with beachy things because I don't live near the beach, so I was looking for something that was summery, maybe something I could leave out for spring through summer through early fall. Anyway, so I decided to start on that one, and I decided to summer it up a little bit more, brighten it up a bit more. And this is one of the first times I've ever kind of just like, I didn't totally change all the colors. I just brightened the colors. Like, I used a lot of the same tones, but I just kind of did my own thing with this one. So this is Home Sweet Home by Teresa Kogut on a 32 count dove using my own DMC conversion. And so I wanted to do it on like a blue fabric to make it really bright instead of a more brown or muted fabric. And then just brightening the colors, I picked a much more gold, brighter yellow gold for this. The Home Sweet is basically a similar color. I just don't think I had the DMC that it called for. So I think this is 3371. And then like the beehive, I'm gonna brighten that up with brighter colors. I'm gonna do the flowers, I think, in the same colors, but just kind of brighten it up, make it a little bit more summery, a little bit less antique-y. And I'm really, really loving stitching on this. It's nice to go from stitching. I am doing some projects that are on like 36 count and 40 count linen, so it's really nice to go from that to a lugana. I just really enjoy stitching on lugana, and this is what, 32 count, So it's just 2/2. It's really nice stitching. This fabric is so soft and smooth, so the needle goes through so nicely. And I think I haven't been using my Nerge hoops as much because on the thinner linen, I don't get the tension I like, and I'm also worried if I pull on it that I'll like rip the linen or damage the linen, but like a lugana is much thicker and sturdier. So I think these work really well for probably Aida, if you stitch with Aida, or for lugana. I had someone asking me how I was liking these. I think this is the medium, and then I have the smaller. I like the smaller the best because the smaller you can get really good tension, though you also only want to use the smaller with smaller projects. Otherwise you got all the excess linen, which I have a little bit with this, but I can pull this back with needle minders. But I think this works well with like a lugana, and I'm really loving stitching on this. Words are really easy, first of all, to stitch, even if they're a bit more intricate like these are, but I mean, I just love stitching on this one, and I'm excited to do my first Teresa Kogut. And as I was going through her secret shop for her Patreon members, like her Christmas ones are like, I want to stitch all of them. I just like, there's like reindeer, and she's got the little ornaments, and so this will not be the last Teresa Kogut you see from me, and I will probably start one of her Christmas ones for Christmas in July for next month. But this one is really fun to stitch. And I'm going to visit my parents. Alex will come with me for a bit, but we're going next week to visit my parents, and I think I will bring this one with me. Probably won't get a ton of stitching time in, but I think this is such a fun one. So that's my first Teresa Kogut. And so those are my 3 new starts. So we can go on to WIPs. I will start with my WIPGO WIPs. So for June, number 16 was called, and for me, number 16, and if you don't know, WIPGO is like a bingo board for your WIPs or any projects or anything you want. Every month, 2 numbers are called. You have the little bingo squares, and whatever you write in that square, you do for that month. And so for June, 16 was called. For 16, I have to stitch on Christmas-themed patterns for 8 hours. And so what I decided to do was to split the 8 hours between 2 projects, 2 WIPs that I have, 2 Christmas WIPs. And so I think initially I was gonna maybe spend 8 hours on one project, and then Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot is working on Christmas delivery, so am I. She showed it in her last video. She's working on the Santa, and it made me wanna get back to stitching on this one. So I'm gonna do this one for 4 hours. So Sarah's over here. She's done a lot of this. Check out Sarah's channel if you haven't. She's wonderful to watch, and her stitching is beautiful. But seeing her work on this just made me want to get it back out. And I'm over here working on the sleigh and the presents. So that's Christmas delivery, and that is Cottage Garden Samplings. This is the 32 Vintage Stormy Night, the same one that I'm doing the Halloween mystery sale on. And I'm using all the called for DMC. And this is what I have so far. And I hope the lighting is okay. It might be a little dark. It's cloudy out. It's gonna rain later today, and the clouds are kind of getting thicker as I go on talking, but that's what I have so far. And so I finished this present and did this in the past 2 weeks, and then I'm starting on this part of the sleigh. And one thing I'm realizing is that the benefit of colored patterns, because is colored inside, is that like this is just with such a big pattern and basically full coverage on the sleigh, and this has like swirly darker parts in the sleigh. It's really hard to stitch when there's multiple colors going if you have a black and white pattern. And I made a photocopy of the pattern, like a working copy, but my printer is crappy, and so it just printed the whole pattern in blue, and so it's readable. But then I was like trying to stitch this, and I was like struggling so bad, so I just opened up the pattern itself and trying to work from the color pattern. Probably need to get a new printer at some point, but I don't print quite enough for it to be really worth it. So, and I know you can probably put this like pattern into an app or something, but sometimes I like working from paper patterns. But that's my progress on that. I think I said all called for DMC on the 32 count Vintage Stormy Night, and I put in a little over an hour and a half on this. So I'll get up to 4 hours and see how far that takes me in this pattern. But I'm really enjoying stitching on this one. So it's cute. It's gonna take a while though. I've never done like this much, basically full coverage before. So we'll see where that gets me. And then I have to decide, I think I'll just continue to go up this way and then get this part of the sleigh done and then move myself back that way. But we'll see how I feel. And then the other one for WIPGO, again for the Christmas, for the 8 hours, that way we'll put in 4 hours on, is Christmas Rules by Primrose Cottage Stitches. I know they're doing a stitch along for their new North Pole one, which is similar to this, where it's the long strip with little different scenes. So I decided to work on this one because while that one is really cute, I want to finish this before I do anything else similar. So I like this. Primrose Cottage are very easy to stitch. Though I've put very, very little time into this one, I think a little less than an hour. And so this is on a mystery linen, just a beige, like a tan beige. I think it's around 35 or 36 count, but I'm doing 2/2. And all that I did was this row of diamonds under Deck the Halls, and then the start of whatever this is supposed to be. So really not much stitching on this one. I'll put more time on this one in this week and make sure I get to those 4 hours by the end of the month. But this one's pretty easy to stitch. I think one of the issues I had is I think I'm off with the diamonds. Something was a little off, and I don't know where I would even frog or what I even did, so I'm gonna fudge. I'm gonna figure it out. I think one of the diamonds is like 1 stitch over where it's supposed to be, but they're all equally spaced, so something else happened somewhere else. But whatever, it'll be fine. So that's Christmas Rules. I am using kind of my own conversion of the DMC. Mostly I'm just using like a 1 step up brighter red and green. And then the package I think was black and white, and I made it 2 shades of blue and white. So I like the more poppy greens and reds for Christmas, and I think the ones that they have are a little bit more muted, so I just chose a brighter shade for those. But this one's easy to stitch, and I should make good progress if I just put the time in. So that is Christmas Rules. And my other WIPGO is Winter Rose Manor. I forget what number that is, maybe 4 was called. That seems right. And that's to put 8 hours in on Winter Rose Manor, but I have not picked that one up yet. So I will have to get going on that one to get my 8 hours in on that this month too. That said, I'm really enjoying stitching on Winter Rose Manor, so that will not be a problem. Maybe like the last week of the month, I might make that like a focus piece, and I'll just work on that most of the last week of this month, because I don't want to bring that to my parents' house. It's a little bit too big. And then my other WIP, well, I have a couple more, but this one is Black Butterfly Sampler. This is by Shaded Stitchery, and this is for my, let me put a picture of this. This is for my niece, or my soon-to-come niece. I think my sister-in-law is like 25 days out from her scheduled due date, so we'll see when little one decides to come into the world, but that's pretty exciting. This will not be done in time to give it to her the minute she's born, but she's a baby and she won't know. So I'm hoping maybe to finish this one by the fall. I know Bridget, the museum stitcher, started stitching on this one, and she's like got half the alphabet done. That girl stitches really fast, so that's impressive. So you can check out, I'm sure she'll show it in her next video. I think I saw on Instagram her posting about it, but hers is, I think she's using like a darker fabric, like a brown maybe, or a reddish color, but hers is looking really cool. And she started on the opposite side of me, I think. So, but this is where I am at. Okay, let's make this more even for you. I'm struggling. It's a Monday morning, so forgive me if I'm struggling a little bit today. I'm not a morning person. Are you a morning person? If you are, you're very lucky to be able to be a morning person. I struggle to get out of bed in the morning. I like staying in my bed. So this is Black Butterfly Sampler. You know what? I don't think I need the board, so let's do this. Good enough. So I think last time you saw, I don't remember if I had finished that butterfly. This is on a 28 count, just white lugana, and I'm using classic Colorworks black coffee. And so I think maybe I hadn't finished him, maybe I had, but now I'm working on that big butterfly down at the bottom. And there's some back stitching in that wing that we'll add in, that'll add some detail to that. But I'm really enjoying stitching on this one. I really like the monochromatic stitching. It's really easy to just stitch in one color and just go. So I'm really liking that aspect to it. I am having to be very careful about the counting, and I actually think I might need to frog some of that butterfly. I think I was off down toward the bottom of the wing. So I have to count and figure out what happened there. And I might need to do some frogging, which kind of stinks when you got to frog with a fancy floss, but I'll see if I can frog it without losing the thread and just pull it out gently. But the thing with counting is you have to be really careful because the wings mirror each other. And so any mistake in the counting, you'd probably be able to notice pretty easily because then the wings won't match and won't line up. So you do have to be pretty careful with the counting on this one. But I am enjoying this, and it'll be really nice to be able to gift this to my niece. Hopefully at some point in the fall, I'll be able to go visit them and bring this to her. And I'm thinking I'll have enough, I won't have so much done that I will be able to probably put her initials in different colors in the alphabet. So I might do that. They haven't told us her name yet, which is fine, but when she's born, I'll know her name. So as long as I don't get to the letters before she's born, I'll be able to maybe do her initials in a different color. And then I'll probably put the date at the bottom. And then I'm thinking for frame, I might see how her nursery comes together and kind of what colors they're using. But I'm thinking I might want to do a frame that's a color, maybe a purple or a light green might be nice. Just to give it a pop of color around the frame and do a colorful frame. So we'll see about that one, but hopefully I'll be able to make some good progress on that. And maybe once she actually is born, that will be the push I need to like really spend a lot of time on it. But very excited for them and can't wait to meet her. And then the next one, which again was just a very little bit of stitching. I guess I was a little bit all over the place with what I felt like stitching on in the past 2 weeks. So I just would pick things up and put things down and grab something else from my WIP pile. So this is The Wizard of Oz by the Little Stitcher. Is it the Little Stitcher? I think that's what their name is. Yes, they have really cute patterns, the Little Stitcher. This is, they have an Etsy shop and they do a lot of pop culture themed stitching, I guess, or patterns. They have Mary Poppins, Wizard of Oz, quite a few others. I think they have some literary ones too. And so this is Wizard of Oz, and all I did was Dorothy's dress. So I think you can't really see her arms. Okay, there we go. So I did her arms, her shoulders, and her dress. I think that, so if you look at her dress, in between those the blue stitching is just fabric. And in the pattern, that's just how it is. It's just fabric. But in the picture, it looks like there is stitching. And obviously you've seen The Wizard of Oz many, many, many times. And I know that Dorothy's dress is checkered blue and white. And so I think I'm gonna fill in white there. I don't know if it's just a mistake with the pattern or it's just how she did it. But I'll fill in white in her dress, but that's all I did, just getting Dorothy moving. But this one is also a pretty easy stitch, pretty small pattern. I mean, this is as far as it goes across pretty much, and I just need to stitch each of the little characters. So this is not going to take a long time. I'm using Called For DMC on this one, and this is Milk and Honey, Fiber on a Whim, 36 count, 1/2. And I don't know if I've been saying the stitching, but for me, most of the time, 36 count and above, I'm 1/2. 32 count and below, I'm 2/2. There's a few cases where that's different, but mostly that is how I stitch. So that's The Wizard of Oz. I love The Wizard of Oz. I need to, next time I'm stitching on this, actually watch The Wizard of Oz while I stitch it, which is a decently long movie, so I'd probably get a lot of stitching in if I did that. And then my last WIP is Strawberry House by Little House Needleworks. So this one is super cute. I love that little house. And this is a nice summery one too, so this will be good to put out for summer. And so I'm stitching Strawberry House on a 32 count Murano ice. Just like an even, is it an even weave? I just got it at Hobby Lobby. I think it's just an even weave. And like a gray, a really light gray. Called for DMC and Fancy Floss, and I finished the house. Look how good that looks. This might be the first big, not big, but the first house I've stitched. Besides for a church, for a Christmas one, this is, I think, the first house I've stitched. So I think it turned out really well. It's a little bit brighter, I think, than it's showing on camera. Again, it's cloudy. I think that it's a bit more pink. It's a bit lighter of a pink. It's Ladybug by Classic Colorworks, I think, but I love the variegation. It's really pretty. And yeah, this one is going to come with me to my parents' house next week. And this one I definitely have a goal of finishing by the end of the month. So we'll see if I manage that. But now that the big house is done, it really shouldn't take long to stitch the words at the bottom and some of those vines and strawberries and the little birds. So this one's really cute. Yeah, I'm enjoying that. And again, that's 32 count, so it's 2 over 2 using the Fancy and the DMC. And that is Strawberry House. It's too bad it's not showing up the variegation as well on the screen that I can see, but that's a really pretty, that Ladybug is just a beautiful color. And so let us get into Stitchy Treat winners. So thank you so much to my hair. I'm having a morning, y'all. Thank you so much to everyone who entered. I love being able to share stitchy things with you, and thank you for watching. So it's really so much fun to read all the comments, and then I just use a random comment generator to pick out the winner, but I always read every single comment. I try to respond to every single comment on my video. I hope I didn't miss anyone. There might be one comment that came in recently that I didn't respond to, but I really try to make an effort throughout the week after I film to slowly go through and respond to everyone and really read your comment, because for you to take the time to watch my video and to let me know what you're stitching on, or react to something I'm showing on screen, I can spend a couple minutes reading your comment and responding, and so I hope that you keep commenting and keep letting me know what you're stitching on, and I'll have more giveaways to come, but here, let's do the winners. So for the Bouquet and Blossoms booklet, hopefully I'm not going to butcher people's names, but I might. So the winner of this one, and what you'll do is email me your address. Please be 18 or older and email me your address. I am novelstitcher, all one word, @gmail.com. You can also find my email address in the description. So just email me your address, and I will, depending when you get back to me, I will try to get your gifts out by the end of this week before I go on vacation. Otherwise, it might be a couple weeks before I get them in the mail, but you always get them. I'm just a little bit bad at getting to the post office, but I will try my hardest to get there before I'm out of town for the week, next week. So the winner of this one is Amy Huddleston, Hudelson. Amy Huddleston. You won the Bouquets and Blossoms book, so congratulations. And then I had the 2 patriotic patterns, and these 2 go to Anne Marie Shimozato, Shimozato, Anne Marie, thank you for entering. Email me your address. And then the next one was the Heart and Hand Tiny Town and Be Kind, and this goes to Pam Kukub, Kucab, Pam Kukab. Please email me your address and let me know if I pronounce your name wrong. I would just love to know how to pronounce things properly. And then we have the 2 Plum Streets, the Henpeck and the Sew Sisters, and this goes to Joy AC, ACEY. So please email me your address, and thank you all for entering, and I will get that out to you. Then let's go into plans. So I don't have any haul, but I will in my next video, because when I go to visit my parents, we're going to go to Berlin one day, Berlin, Maryland. It's not too far from them. It's like a really cute little town with little shops and good restaurants and all of that. My parents like going there. And Salty Yarns recently moved and opened their store in that location. And they are a big yarn and cross stitch shop. I was like browsing around last night looking at their Instagram and looking at videos and photos they're tagged in. And they have such a selection of patterns. Like, it's going to be so much fun. So Mom and I don't know if my dad will come. It might just be me and my mom for that one. I don't know. We'll see. Or Alex. We'll see what we do. But we're definitely gonna stop by Salty Yarns. If it's the whole crew of us, I'll have to like send them off somewhere, because I'm gonna want time to shop, and they're gonna be like, "What is this store? What's going on here?" Not that they don't approve of cross stitch, but they just don't quite understand. They'll be like, Alex is always like, "Why do you need more patterns? Don't you have a million things you're stitching?" And I'm like, "It's okay. Don't worry about it." But yeah, so we'll go to Salty Yarns. I think the biggest thing I want to look at is fabric, because I'm sure you all feel the same way, that shopping for fabric online is really hard. It's just never quite the color you think it's gonna be on your phone. For me, I've been realizing, or on an iPad, but for me, I realized, like, for some reason on a screen, the fabric always looks darker to me, and then when I get it, it's lighter than I want it to be. So I want a few fabrics that are a bit on the darker side, because I have so many that are lighter neutral tones that like white won't pop on them, and you know, some of those patterns with lighter colors just aren't going to show right. So I want a few slightly darker ones, and then if I can find something maybe a bit more funky, I'm very neutral and muted in the fabrics I use, so maybe I can find something kind of more unique and stretch myself a little in that aspect of stitching on something a bit different. So that will be my shoppy plans. And then I might do some Christmas in July. I have time to think about what I want to do for July, but let me know, do you stitch all Christmas in July? Do you not stitch any Christmas, and do you just ignore Christmas in July? Let me know if you have kind of any Christmas in July plans. And I'm gonna think about what I want to do. I'll probably keep working on Christmas delivery and Christmas rules. I might as well bring those WIPGOs into the next month. I'll have to see what WIPGO is called for July to also think through what I have time to stitch on. And then, as I said, I might want to start 1 or 2 new things that are Christmas related. I kind of want to do, I have a Prairie Schooler Santa from, is it 2023's Prairie Schooler Santa with all the snowflakes, and I haven't done a Prairie Schooler, so I might want to start that. And then Teresa Kogut, which is going to be a hard decision to make, because I have 2 Christmas patterns, like physical from her, but then she's got all those really, really cute ones in her Stitchy store. And she also, as part of the Patreon, releases a couple, 1 or 2 patterns a month for free, just as part of the Patreon. So we'll see if she maybe releases a Christmas pattern in July as part of that, or something different that I want to stitch. So we'll see. So let me know what your Christmas in July plans or non-plans are. And then my last plan, I talked about in my last video, is to do a stitch along for Enchanted Quaker by Luminous Fiber Arts. Absolutely love this pattern. It's so cute. And I think initially I was going to do it where I was going to split the pattern up and make it a more structured stitch along, but things are busy with wedding planning. It's summer. I know everyone's got a lot going on, trips and stuff like that, and so I'm going to make it more of a start along slash stitch along, but no structure. So the goal is to start it on June 30th, which is a Friday, last day of June, about 4 months to Halloween. And so just start with me at the end of June or early July, or hop in whenever. I'm gonna be pretty loose again with this one, so join whenever. If you're already working on it, join in. We're going to use hashtag, which I'll put it at the bottom, Enchanted Quaker Sal. And so if you'd like to join in, just use that hashtag. You can start stitching it sooner if you want. But my plan will be to start that Friday, that weekend, that last weekend in June, or last Friday in June, first weekend in July. And that's right leading up to 4th of July, so I'll be off on the 4th, so maybe I'll stitch Halloween on the 4th of July since I don't do much patriotic stitching. And I'm going to switch things up a bit and not do it all in black. The called for is Black Coffee by Classic Colorworks, which I will do some of it in, so when I go to Salty Yarns I need to buy more black coffee since I'm using quite a lot of that for the black butterfly sampler. But I'm thinking like the moon in a gold color, a motif in a purple. There's stuff coming out of this cauldron, so maybe in a green, this pumpkin in orange. I want to have a nice balance of color versus the black, but just little pops of color. And while I'm at Salty Yarns, maybe I'll wander over to the Classic Colorworks and see what other colors. I am part of the Fat Quarter Shop Floss Fix for Classic Colorworks, so I do have, I think, like a green I can use that I like, a purple, so I might look for like a goldy yellow, and I think I have an orange I can use, so I don't think I'll need much, but I might pop over and grab a couple others just so I have some choices. And then I'm going to stitch this on, crinkle for 2 seconds, a 36 count pearl linen that I just got at my L&S, just a nice gray 36 count linen. I think it's pretty similar to what Misty did here. It'll be a similar color. I think she actually used the vintage Stormy Night that I've been showing off, the 32 count for Christmas delivery, which is a really nice gray color with the modeling, but I'm just going straight gray, no modeling on this one, just a plain pearl. So that'll be fun. So join in if you'd like. Please let me know if you're going to join in. I know some people said they're stitching it or interested in stitching it, so hopefully this gives you enough time if you do want to grab that pattern to grab it by the end of the month and join in and just have a start along. So no pressure, no structure, just stitch when you want, and we can all share our progress as we get closer to Halloween. Will I finish it by Halloween? Don't know. We'll see about that one. You can tell I'm stitching on a lot. So that's up for debate, but it should be fun to stitch on. I'm excited to get that one started and really love the fall and winter stitching a lot. Summer's fun too, but I think a lot of us really enjoy like the fall, Halloween, Christmassy, wintry stitching. Let me know what your favorite season or theme of stitching is, but I would say for me, it probably might be Christmas. I really like Christmas, so it's just fun. But yeah, so those are my plans. And if you're just here for the stitching, not really into the bookish content, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not already a subscriber, it would mean so much to me if you would just hit that subscribe button. If you want to know when I post a new video, there's a little bell. You can click on the bell and you'll just get a notification when I post a new video. Please let me know what you were stitching on during this, how you're doing. Do you have any upcoming summer plans? You going to the beach, you going on vacation? Do you stitch on the beach? I'm very intrigued by people who can stitch on the beach, but I don't think I'll be trying that. But just let me know what you're up to. And thank you so much for being here and watching. And I hope you have a great couple weeks. And if you're here for the bookish stuff, let's talk books. So I thought I would start out with 2 recommendations because it is Pride Month. I'm not currently reading anything that I'm aware of that is written by a member of the LGBTQIA. Those are all the right, sorry, those are the right ones, community, but yeah, I should probably read something this month. But for now, I thought I would give some previous read recommendations. So I'm gonna start with one that's happy, and then I'm gonna do one that's less happy. So my first recommendation, if you like romance, is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. And this I read a few years ago. This is the perfect beach read if you're looking for something that's a beach read. It's super cute. And I'm gonna read the back to you because I'm gonna slightly forget the whole plot. But basically, it's the son of the President of the United States and the son of the Prime Minister fall in love. Basically, too long didn't read notes from the back. But when his mother became President of the United States, Alex Claremont Diaz was promptly cast as the American equivalent of a young royal. Handsome, charismatic, genius, his image is pure millennial marketing gold for the White House. There's only one problem. Alex has a beef with an actual prince, Henry, across the pond. And when the tabloids get hold of a photo involving an Alex-Henry altercation, U.S.-British relations take a turn for the worse. Heads of family and state and other handlers devise a plan for damage control, stage a truce between the two rivals. What at first begins as a fake Instagrammable friendship grows deeper and more dangerous than either Alex or Henry could have imagined. There's more, but I'll stop there because that gives you basically an idea of what this is about. It's cute, it's well written, it's a fun romance. I think they're making it into I think it's probably just a movie. I want to say Amazon Prime, but I could be wrong about the details, but they are making it into a movie or TV show, so that'll be fun. I'm assuming that's going to come out this year, this summer, and this was just a fun, cute romance, so I highly recommend this if you're looking for a good beach read. Maybe I'll do a reread. I don't know. Maybe I'll bring that to the beach with me. And then the next one is, it's been a while since I read this one, so this is one where I remember like the basic premise of this one. This one's more fuzzy, but I just remember it being like beautifully written and like so moving and just like it's kind of stunning in a way. So this is Carolina D. Roberts' Cantorus. And again, this one is not as happy and feel good as Red, White, and Royal Blue. So in 1977 Uruguay, a military government has crushed political dissent with ruthless force. In an environment where citizens are kidnapped, raped, and tortured, homosexuality is a dangerous transgression. And yet Romina, Flaca, Anita, Paz, and Melina, 5 Cantoras, women who sing, somehow miraculously find one another and discover Cabo Polonio, an isolated cape inhabited by just a lonely lighthouse keeper and a few rugged seal hunters that they can claim as their secret sanctuary. Over the next 35 years, their lives move back and forth between Cabo Polonio and Montevideo, the city they call home. As they return, sometimes together, sometimes in pairs, with lovers in tow or alone. Throughout it all, the women will be tested repeatedly by their families, lovers, society, and one another as they fight to live authentic lives. So it's basically about these 5 women who are part of the LGBTQ population, and they find respite and release in this small island, in this place where they can go together and be themselves and fall in love and just live their lives authentically. And so obviously there are some really sad parts to this book. Life is not easy for these women, and the choices they make and the way society sees them can really make things rough. But it's really beautifully written, and highly recommend if you want really good literary fiction that really looks at history and a different place and different experiences of women who are part of the LGBTQ population. So really beautiful book. So highly recommend Cantorus. That's one that I'm going to reread at some point. Maybe not this year, but at some point. And then other than that, I finished my listen of Anne of Green Gables. Incredibly enjoyable. If you're interested in listening to it yourself, I did it on Audible, and Rachel McAdams, the actress, was the narrator, and she did a lovely job. So it was really, really enjoyable just spending time with Anne in Green Gables and all of the fun and joy of that book, even if the ending is a little bit sad. But yeah, really, really good listen. Great for my commute to work. And then the other one I'm reading this on my Kindle. I literally got my Kindle out after I hadn't used it for a year or so, recharged it, and got Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now, I'm not finished with this book, so I will refrain from a full-on judgment and review until I'm done. But this book exploded out of nowhere, in my opinion. I guess it probably popped on TikTok or something like that. It is fantasy, so if you're not interested in fantasy or you don't really read fantasy, this might not be your thing. But all of a sudden, I kept seeing it everywhere. And before I started cross-stitching and Flosstube and posting about cross-stitching on my Instagram was actually all book-related. So if you do want to look at other book recommendations, just scroll a few pages on my Instagram and you'll get to like all bookish content, because it was what's called a bookstagram for a long time. It's I think it's novel_Stitcher. I always forgot my handle because I think I have the underscore, but it's novel_Stitcher. If you want to check me out on Instagram, I'll put it on the screen. Anyway, so I follow a ton of bookish accounts, and like everyone was reading this book, and I was like, what is this book? Where did it come from? What is going on? So I had to read it because I don't always feel like I have to read what everyone else is reading, especially lately. I'm trying to read kind of how you stitch from stash. I'm trying to read books off my shelves and not buy books too often. But I just had to know what all the drama was about with this book. And so basically it's a fantasy world. It's set at this war college, and there's this young woman, and she wants to be a scribe, meaning she wants to write and do history and archive the battles and everything going on in this society. And her mother is like head of, I'm gonna forget the details of like who these people are, but her mother is like a general. She's like a really high up general, and this young woman's whole family has been dragon riders. Her brother passed away, but he was a dragon rider, and her sister's a dragon rider, and basically like they're your version of the military. And they keep having to defend their country from evil forces. And so she wants to be a scribe and work in history and have a quiet life working in the library. And because also she's kind of sickly and weaker and had a lot of issues when she was younger. And so there's no way, that she can be a dragon rider and go through all the hard training and the deadly things that they have to do to even become a dragon rider. But her mom, being her mom and being the head of the military, is like, nope, you're going to be a dragon rider. You got to do it. And her mom have a very not great relationship, but she knows she has no choice. And so, you have to go through a series of tests to even become a dragon rider, where most people don't even survive this series of tests. And so she has to do that. And spoiler alert, she does get through the test, because if she didn't, the book would just end. And she does become, or starts training to be a dragon rider. And then there's like a love interest with this guy who she really shouldn't be in love with, because his parents rebelled against the country and were killed for it by her mother or under her mother's command. And but he's super sexy and she's into him, and it's fantasy, right? If you know fantasy and you read, it's not YA, I guess. It's new adult, I think they call it. I don't know. It's one step above YA, because they are, I think, around 20, 21, early 20s. So it's not teenagers, but they're younger. And so it's what you would, in my opinion, typically expect from that kind of fantasy. You've got some love interest, you got the bad boy, you got a slight love interest who's a good boy, or so you think. You got the danger and the excitement, and there's dragons and magic, and if you ride your dragon, you get a certain kind of power, and everyone has a different power that's associated with their dragon. But so in that regard, I'm like, I don't quite get the hype, but at the same time, I can't stop reading it. It's really good. It's really well written. I really like the chemistry between her and this guy she's not supposed to really like, but really likes. It is a little spicy. I'm not super into the spiciness, so I just kind of flip past that. This is just not my thing to read too much, but I can just kind of skim. I like the tension more than the actual doing. But it's good. It's enjoyable. So if you like fantasy and you're looking for something that's like, I think for me, fantasy is like the perfect, I will get lost in it kind of thing. And if you're looking for something to just fall into the book and get lost in it and enter into this world and forget anything, looking at your phone for a few hours or anything else, and then you look up at the clock and you realize what time it is and you're like, oh no, it's like 11 o'clock at night, because I did read till 11 o'clock at night the other night. Like, it's very well written. It's very good. Some of the hype might be because of what happens toward the end. I have about 150 pages, I think, left to go, so there's much more to happen, and so we'll see. I think it is going to be a series. I think I heard October the next book is coming out, so I will report back with a full review once I actually finish it. But if you like fantasy and you like that kind of thing, or maybe even if you want to try fantasy, it probably wouldn't be a bad one to start with. It's got all your typical tropes of a fantasy novel. Again, a little bit hedging toward the young adult, but it's not young adult. More so than, I would say, like high fantasy, like George R.R. Martin or Brandon Sanderson. I think there's tiers of fantasy. So I don't know how to explain the tiers, but I think there is like the really intricate, thick, heavy books with like really complicated worlds. This world to me is not complicated, which might make it a good foray into fantasy. It won't be hard to understand what's going on and the dynamics at play. As far as fantasy is concerned, it can be kind of complicated depending who you're reading. So yeah, it's good. I'm liking it. I'm sort of getting the hype. I'm not 100% getting like why it was literally sold out at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, which is why I'm reading it on my Kindle, because you literally can't get a hold on a physical copy, I think, for another week or so. I did see a copy in Target, but the cover was ripped up, which is probably why it was still for sale there, because who wants to spend $30 when the dust jacket has rips in it? Someone maybe returned it or it just got damaged. But yeah, a lot of people are reading this, so if you're into fantasy, so far I'd say check it out. I would say read it if that's the kind of thing you like. Don't pay $100 to get a copy though, because some people are trying to like sell it on eBay for like a ridiculous amount of money. Just get it on Kindle, or if you really want a physical copy, wait for it to come back in stock. Or they think there's an audiobook, but I much prefer fantasy to read it. It's easier to flip back and forth and remember character names and stuff like that if you have a physical copy. So that is what I've been reading. I will have to pick a new audiobook now that I finish Anne of Green Gables, so I think that'll be my next reading responsibility. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you have any recommendations for beach reads or summer reads, or if you have any Pride Month recommendations. If you're reading anything by an LGBTQIA author, let me know. And I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks, and happy reading and happy stitching.